Welcome back to What's New in the Lou with Alexis Zotos, presented by Caldy's Coffee. This is your can't miss weekly podcast where we're helping you stay in the know in St. Louis. So the can't miss events, the best new restaurants that are opening, but most importantly, the people that make St. Louis the best place to live and visit. Stick around to the end of the episode because we're going to give you a calendar of things happening this week in St. Louis so you know exactly what you need to do this weekend. As we know, there are no shortage of things to do in St. Louis and no shortage of free things to do. And I'm excited about this week's episode because we are talking about the Pulitzer. It is the 25th anniversary, and I am joined by Executive Director Cara. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to be here.
So the Pulitzer is another one of these incredible free spaces that people can experience art in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Describe it to people who maybe haven't visited ever, or it's just been a minute.
Absolutely. So the Pulitzer Arts Foundation, we are a museum, and we're a bit of a gem. We are an extraordinary building designed by the Japanese architect Tadao Ando,
Mm-hmm.
and he has since gone on to win every major architectural prize in the world. However, this was his first freestanding public building in this country, and it is so beautiful. Just as an experience alone, the building is absolutely gorgeous. And then, of course, there's the art that we install. We have contemporary art, we have historic art, we change shows every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, we're free, we're open. You can just saunter on in, come experience some art, and then go right next door to the Contemporary Art Museum.
I think that's one of the coolest things is, you don't have to make a big day of it. It can just be, you know what? I have a couple of hours. I have an hour.
Yeah.
Let me just go wander into this museum
Yeah.
that has such cool things to see that you're not going to see anywhere else in the city.
Yeah. We have people who come by just for 20 minutes to see the sculpture by Richard Serra in our courtyard called Joe. It's an incredible piece, this very large spiral that you kind of walk into. And then as you get to the center, it opens up to the sky, and it's a really beautiful experience. And we have people that just come for that on a weekly experience so they can see it. But as I said before, it's kind of a remarkable building. You don't understand it walking in. It's
probably don't realize that either.
No, it's made of concrete. It's very humble as you walk in. And then as I see people turn the corner, they are kind of just overwhelmed by the experience. There's this incredible reflecting pool that looks out at beautiful scenery beyond. And in fact, that natural light from the pool then also illuminates the gallery. So you have the reflection of the water, you have shadows from clouds, and it's a really gorgeous just overall experience.
Give us a little history. How did the Pulitzer Arts Foundation come to be?
Yeah, so we were founded 25 years ago by Emily Rao Pulitzer. Now what people don't always know is she was a curator. That's how she started her career in the 1950s. And then she came here in the 1960s to become, at that time, the sole curator at the St. Louis Art Museum. And she ultimately went on to marry Joseph Pulitzer and stepped away from her curatorial role, but that was her lifelong love. She continued to collect art, to support artists and organizations, foundations. And then at a certain point, she realized she wanted to contribute even more to the community and ultimately created this museum, this foundation that is very much dedicated to those original interests, to curatorial thinking, but also opening it up to the public and the community. It's very deliberately located in the Grand Center neighborhood.
Yeah, how did that become the place where she decided
was
to open
also a deep, long-standing passion of hers and her late husband. He had supported the St. Louis Symphony when it returned to the district, and so it was very intentional in terms of trying to rebuild the arts and contribute to the growth of the arts and entertainment district. And so that's very much part of our mission as well. We have spaces outside the museum that people wouldn't realize are ours. We have several different gardens as well across the street. We have a beautiful rain garden. A few years ago, we took over a former church that was that had unfortunately experienced a fire, also about 25 years ago, and its four walls remained. A few years ago, we took it over, we stabilized it, we built a garden, and we just opened it up to the public. So you can come in, you can experience some of the nature around
Yeah, people might not realize as they're driving by that church, if they've gone to the Fox or the Symphony, they've likely driven right by it. And for a long time, it was just sort of like a ruin. But now it's this intentional piece of history, if
Very
you will.
much so. A lot of people referred to it as the burnt church because, of course, it did experience a fire. We tried to change the language a little bit because I don't want it forever to only be that moment in time. We're calling it the Spring Church.
Okay, the Spring Church. That's right. That's what it's called.
It's on Spring Avenue, but also that notion of kind of rebirth of spring. And it's open to the public. People love dropping by. We see
lots of wedding photos. I feel like
we don't host weddings, but people
go there to take photos.
Yes, people do take a lot of photos there, which is great. Come on by, take some photos. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Why did you? That's like one. When you were thinking about sort of like what happens beyond the space that you're in, how do you hope to continue expanding what people understand as art in St. Louis?
Yeah, well, we present a wide range of exhibitions. And I've been here 10 years. Over the last 10 years, we've been really looking to contribute to expanding the field as much as possible. So we've been looking at artists that have been overlooked by history. And not every exhibition, but that's been a really important part of our curatorial process and the work that we're presenting to the public. Now, in the last few years, it's been really fun to watch some of those artists get that kind of broader attention. So a handful of years ago, we had a show by a Japanese-American artist named Ruth Asawa. She now has a crater on, were they naming craters on the moon?
Probably.
She had a postage stamp. I mean, she really kind of made it to a different level. I saw that exhibit.
I remember.
And it was a phenomenal exhibition, but she was an unknown name at that moment. And so that's been very fun for us to introduce artists, both to the community, to the St. Louis community, but also to the field more broadly, that we are part of helping to contribute to taking a look. We also show historic works as well. We've done ancient Egypt, we've done medieval artworks, and with our shows, we're really looking at, why does this art matter now? Why should we care about it? Why should we think about it? And that's been really fun as well. Our curator who worked on the medieval show was very interested in ecology and the environment, which is such a pressing issue. And she was looking at that eco-critical lens at the medieval period, which is fascinating. We all think of medieval artwork and the churches, the stained glass.
Yeah.
Well, stained glass is made by melting sand, heating up sand to make it melt so you can turn it into glass. Well, how many trees do you think it takes to make a pane?
Wow.
Of
right.
stained glass.
I hadn't thought about that.
Right. So it was about 500 is what she deduced, which if you think about it through deforestation at that moment, only they were clever enough to realize we're going to wipe ourselves out. And so they were building in techniques like to harvest the trees but not kill them. So even in that moment, they were understanding their environment and ecology. So anyway, we are trying to build exhibitions that matter to people today, whether it's our historic shows or our contemporary shows.
And you guys have a new show right now that just recently opened. Talk
Very
to us
special
about
show.
it. This 25th anniversary show. Explain it to us.
This is a very special exhibition. It is curated by our founder, Emily Rao Pulitzer. And it was such a special opportunity for me to invite her to be the curator. As I said before, this is her history, her love. And she decided to bring together artworks, both from her own personal collection, as well as institutions that have been really meaningful to her.
Okay.
So she brought works from the Harvard Art Museum, where she worked, the St. Louis Art Museum. She brought works from some collectors from the Museum of Modern Art in New York, from the Art Institute of Chicago. And it's called Dialogues and Conversations. And it's really about the conversations between artists, as well as the dialogues the ongoing dialogues and conversations that she's had during her lifetime.
Wow.
So there's a lot of artists that she's collaborated with or come back to repeatedly over time. But you can also look through each gallery is either a set of two artists or a grouping of artists that have had exchange. And you can see a lot of that through just the visual connections between the works and how they're influencing each other. And it's a very special show. And it's the kind of show that has a little bit for everyone. We've got Picasso and Degas drawings, like more contemporary artists as well. We've got, it's a real range from sculpture to painting to drawing. Yeah.
How do you tell people as they're listening to this that feel maybe intimidated by the idea of going into a museum? Maybe they've been to the St. Louis Art Museum, but maybe when it comes to a smaller museum, they feel intimidated because they don't know anything about art.
Yeah.
How do you open those doors to those folks as well?
Yeah, great question. First of all, it's okay. It's okay to not to know everything, and that's where our job is to try to help provide the information that's helpful. So we have a staff there, a wonderful front of house staff that are always happy to answer any questions. We do provide little guides in each room. And I would say it's okay to come and experience and decide what you love and maybe what you also don't love. And as I said before, sometimes people come just to look at the reflecting pool, and that's okay too. It's just about creating those meaningful experiences, doing those things that St. Louis offers and offers so well. Yeah.
How do you see yourselves within the larger art world of St. Louis? Because we have this incredible arts community in St. Louis. How do you guys fit within that puzzle?
Yeah, we have a wonderful arts community here. An incredible array of museums, art museums, but also non-art museums, and music, theater, everything. Within the art museums, we all hold a little bit of a different position. Of course, there's the St. Louis Art Museum, your canonical encyclopedic institution where you can kind of see everything. You can spend hours there, of course. And then, of course, the Kemper at the university, which is geared a lot towards their students and community. We're right next to the Contemporary Art Museum, too. So we think of ourselves as like a little two for one situation. You can move back and forth between us. They show more emerging to mid-career living artists. And so we kind of try to pick up a little bit where they leave off. So we're also showing contemporary work, but when we do, we show more mid to late career artists. But we're all a little bit distinct. We have different flavors. It's a very strong set of arts organizations locally.
USA Today readers have named Caldi's Coffee the best coffee chain for the second year in a row. Since 1994, Caldi's Coffee has built its reputation on thoughtful sourcing, careful roasting, and warm, consistent service that shows up in every cup. It's an honor earned through daily dedication to quality. Explore Caldi's best blends and find your cafe at caldiscoffee.com. What does it mean from like a larger tourism standpoint in your mind to kind of be this special place that people maybe within St. Louis don't realize, but that people are coming to St. Louis to experience the arts.
They are. And it's really quite fascinating. We get a lot of national press. And so people show up with the newspapers in hand. We had a pretty incredible piece this last weekend in the New York Times.
Congratulations
and,
on that.
And we find consistently audiences show up saying, I read this.
I love that.
And so it's a really fascinating question because sometimes we do find our national reputation, even our international reputation, sometimes feels
larger.
a little louder.
Yeah.
At least those are the folks communicating to us at the front desk like, hey, I knew this was a do not miss. And that's both on the art. And again, we have architectural people that travel just to see this extraordinary building.
That made me think about kind of the changing landscape of journalism. And I do see when I go to events that have been featured, let's say just in the paper, and there's an older crowd because that's who's reading and consuming the paper in both physical and online form. How do you see that changing and the importance of getting the word out of not only what you guys do, but art in general as people move into a much different landscape when it comes to media? Yeah,
that's such an interesting question. I feel like I want to turn that back onto you.
You're
the expert.
It just like made me think about there's so many people of a younger generation that just they're not reading the New York Times. Maybe they're not reading the local paper either.
Yeah.
And how do we make sure that the art world gets out there?
It's such a great question. When you solve that, do let me know.
I'll let you know. I guess you come on podcasts. You come on a podcast like this.
Well, so I find honestly one of the most persuasive is word of mouth. But the real question is, how do you influence word of mouth?
Right.
And I think it's by delivering something really special. And I do feel once you come and you experience what it means to come and feel welcomed, come experience the building, be moved by the art, hate the art, whatever it is, come back for something new next time. We also do like an array of programs too. I shouldn't ignore those. We do live music, poetry, scholarly talks. We have an art historian coming in this weekend to talk about works in the show. And we also do things on our campus as well in Park Lake in the church. And but I find it's the enthusiastic people who have come who actually bring other folks back. Because art is one of those things, it can be very fun to go on your own. But honestly, I think we do it together.
Right.
And so I find that to be one of the most compelling ways that our audience grows.
What's it like to get to hear somebody say or talk to somebody that comes in that they're like, I've lived in St. Louis forever. I have no idea this was here. What's that like to get to see that awe on their face?
It happens all the time and I love it. Oh, that moment when it's because it's very hard for me to describe that experience of moving through the galleries, which are, again, like very special. They have a lot of room to breathe and pause. And we install in a way where we try not to overwhelm you. It's okay if there's not a ton of art in that room and you can just look at 2 or 3 works and kind of pace yourself more slowly. And especially in this fast-paced, movement,
world,
we're all scrolling, we're looking at media, we're covering the headlines. What does it mean to also give yourself a little bit of a reprieve from that? And I find people exit happy.
Yeah.
And the feedback on our team is always very joyful. Like people love to come and share their experience, and that, we could probably use a little more slowing down here and there.
I think that's so vital. Like there is this constant need to sort of be entertained. And sometimes it's important to take a step back and just let something just let yourself be in a space.
Yeah.
Where it's not like...
I would say this is also entertainment. It's not edited at a pace of like...
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like we're not like, okay, let's move to the next room. Like I feel like sometimes when you go to a larger museum, like when you're visiting another city, like you've got 3 hours and there's 1,000 rooms. Right. And okay, it's like, oh, if you think of the Louvre, like, oh, okay, there's the Mona Lisa, I saw it, boom, 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 we got to go to this. Like,
yes, there are 6 main spaces. It's very manageable in scale, and I know what you mean. And when you go to a huge museum, I mean, I love to do it, but you have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
When you come to the Pulitzer, it's one experience. You'll kind of wander your way through, and you wind up making a loop, and it's not overwhelmingly large. So yes, it's I know
doable.
It's like, very doable.
Date day, friend date, or a personal alone date of just go experience something
new. Yeah.
With the 25th anniversary, what does this year look like? You have this incredible exhibit right now, but what does the rest of the year look like as you celebrate this big year?
Yeah. So we have another exhibition that'll open in September. It's an artist named Olga de Amaral. She's from Colombia. And it's we're collaborating with the Cooper Hewitt Museum of Design, which is part of the Smithsonian. Cool. And she makes extraordinary textiles. She's in her 90s. These works are just magnificent. And it's going to be the entire museum. So that is going to be a very special show as well. Really gorgeous, but all one artist. So we put together 2 very different types of shows. One, the group show curated by Emmy with a wide diversity, and then a solo artist exhibition, which is also kind of a specialty for us as well. And then we have a whole array of programs. You can see all of them on our website. In the fall, around the anniversary, we're going to do some very specific special programs, a collaboration with the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra. They've been one of our long-term collaborators. We're going to have a special performance and commission with them. We also are producing a book to honor the anniversary. It's a history of our 25 years with contributions by many of the collaborators. So when that is released again in the fall, which is when our proper anniversary is, we'll do some events as well around that.
What is your background? You came here for this role at the Pulitzer. What brought you to St. Louis? What intrigued you to come from New York to come here?
So my background was as a curator. I had been at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. And then after that, I have been at a public art organization, Creative Time, both amazing organizations. And MoMA is the kind of place you go when it's a very tourist driven. Of course, when you're local in New York, you go as well. But it's the kind of place when you go to New York, it's you travel to. Well, Creative Time was a very different kind of place that as a public art organization, you moved between neighborhoods, you moved between spaces, and you had to build new relationships every time. And when I saw the Pulitzer and its mission to deliver these exceptional experiences with art and also be incredibly meaningful within its local community, I thought it was a really interesting connection between my background in those two areas. And I was honestly just incredibly moved by this museum. There are no others like it in this country. We don't collect. And that gives, and we don't have limitations on what we show. So,
and what does that mean for people who don't, like, what do you mean you don't collect versus what another museum does?
Thank you. A lot of museums spend a lot of, like the St. Louis Art Museum collects art, and that's incredible. They become a repository. We can go and see work, but it's also a huge amount of work, staff time, effort. So we don't acquire any artworks.
So the art
the art that we show, we bring from all over the country, all over the world. And so we put together each exhibition very uniquely. And so it also means every time you come, it'll be a completely new set of shows that you'll see. And
so you have to come visit. You're going to miss it.
You can easily miss it. Our shows are about 5 months, which should be a nice amount of time for people, 2 rotations per year. But it's just the combination between this extraordinary building, this open mission, and this deep commitment to the neighborhood is very distinctive. And I could just see how special it was. So it's been a real honor to be a part of the organization.
And that's a really great way to help people understand the difference in museums. You know, when you have something large like the St. Louis Art Museum where, maybe like, I'm going to go see this exhibit. It's my favorite. I want to see this piece every time I go. But then sometimes you want that excitement of something new and to discover something new. And it is that sort of once in maybe a lifetime opportunity to see some of these works.
Yeah.
Because they aren't always here.
That's absolutely true. And that sense of discovery is really right on. And that's what our curators do. I mean, they're out there learning about artists, thinking about it, trying to figure out what'll make sense for St. Louis. What can we do that's exceptionally unique and special and that we can present here in an exceptionally unique and special way. So yes, it is a don't miss experience for sure.
How far out do you plan these exhibitions? I mean,
several years.
Several years.
Yes.
Okay.
We are usually at a minimum of 2 years. And that's just because it takes so long to actually assemble and get the loans and bring it together. And we have a whole small team dedicated to that kind of work. And also even just to design the shows can take a long time. If you think about all the cases that artwork is in, or even how it's hung on the wall, all of those details take a lot of planning. And I have a small but absolutely incredible team that works on the backside of all of that.
Is there one over your 10 years that you've been here that you have been most proud of, or that's been most exciting to see in St. Louis?
Yeah. That's like asking someone to choose
their
favorites. I will say probably, there's so many, but I think the first one for me in some ways was because it was the point in when I took over the exhibition calendar. And so one of the first moves I made when I arrived here was to invite the artist Glenn Ligon to come. And he curated a show in 2017 called Blue Black. And it was inspired by an artwork. Well, I said we don't collect. We do have 3 artworks that are permanently on view.
Oh, okay.
That were 2 of them were really designed for the building. The one on the inside of the building is a very large wall sculpture by the artist Ellsworth Kelly, and it's made of 2 colors, blue and black. And Glenn is very moved by Kelly's work and decided to create an entire exhibition around those colors. And it was incredibly meaningful. It had like deeply aesthetic, but also political aspects to what those colors meant. And for me, it was just really fun to both arrive and then experience the museum through the lens of an artist collaborating like that. And that's very much been a part of our history as well. We've invited artists over the years to curate exhibitions. And last year, the artist Jenny C. Jones also curated an exhibition. And I think those, I love, we have a wonderful curatorial team, but I also love that we get to expand that team and invite other folks to be at the table with us as well.
What does the next 25 years look like for the Pulitzer Arts Foundation?
Oh my goodness. That's quite a question.
I
know. I hope we continue to have the capacity to keep doing what we do really well. The amazing exhibitions. I hope our audiences keep growing, fall in love with our shows, with our public programs. We're in the middle of kind of rethinking all of our pacing, but we still are offering a wide array of programs. And then also as our neighborhood changes, there's a lot of movement. The Greenway is about to open in the next year in our neighborhood. We're seeing a lot of development. Pulitzer Arts Foundation on the other end has really done incredible work. It's fun to watch, and it'll be really exciting to see the neighborhood in particular over the next 25 years.
Well, and it's, you bring up the Greenway. We just had Great Rivers Greenway on talking about the Brick Line and kind of how that kind of connects St. Louis. And if we think about bringing more people walking through our neighborhoods, especially Grand Center, where, yes, people come for a show at the Fox, they come for a show at the Symphony, but the idea of just being able to wander that neighborhood, pop into the Pulitzer, pop into the Contemporary, like that's kind of what we want from our city.
Yeah, that I think there's been a lot of focus on the walkability. It's a lot of people enjoy it. They just don't always know that they can do that or that it's even available to. You can stop in with us. There's coffee right next door. You can get a pastry. I mean, that you can easily linger, or you can pop in and out because you've got a concert and you're there. And we've been trying to make sure
because
that
what's next door? The
Sheldon.
The Sheldon. Thank you.
Yeah. Right next door to the Sheldon, right around the corner from the Fox and the Symphony.
How late are you guys open in the evenings?
Depends on the day.
Okay.
We're open till 5 on, and then it's 8 or 9 on Fridays, depending.
Okay, but you are open like later in the
Yes,
evening.
first Fridays it's till 9.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
First Fridays, is that one?
First Friday of the month. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. And again, when you think about expanding accessibility to art, you guys are free. How vital is that to growing an art loving community? That sounds like a weird way to phrase that. I can't think of a better way to phrase it, but a community that really appreciates art.
I think that's something very special about St. Louis. I actually think it's very much a part of this community. This is an arts loving community, so much so that over generations it's built it into the taxing, the ZMD, it's the Regional Arts Commission. There are very special commitments within the city, and that comes from the people. But the thing is that art is actually, it's really good for you. It is actually very good for your health, for your well-being, for your mind. And at this moment, whether or not that's seeing live music, seeing something visual that it enjoys, it's just having joy and pleasure is so important. And so it does come very much from the people of the city, and there's a beautiful and long history of that. And I think it is something to celebrate here because it is special.
All right. If you want to learn more about the Pulitzer Arts Foundation, including their hours, we have a link in the description of this week's episode. Now let's dive into what's happening in St. Louis this week of April 27th through May 3rd. Starting off with First Friday at the Pulitzer Arts Foundation. That's Friday, May 1st. That is also the night of the Spring Avenue groundbreaking for the Brick Line Greenway. There will be a celebration happening at Spring Church. Saturday, May 2nd is Rose Day in the Central West End. Saturday, May 2nd is also the annual Kentucky Derby Party at the Royale. And Saturday and Sunday is Foodies Eat First Fest. You heard about it right here on the podcast. Don't miss it. As always, you can give us a follow on social media. You can find us at What's New in the Lou podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Give us a subscribe so you know exactly when the latest episodes drop. And thanks for listening.